Darkness is falling over Hawkins. The town you once knew is gone. Shadows stretch longer than they should, and every corner hides a secret. Something powerful is coming, something no one can stop. And it's closer than you think. This is not just another chapter, it's the end. The camera drifts slowly over the empty streets of Hawkins, where the only light comes from flickering street lamps casting uneven shadows. Rain falls gently, leaving puddles that mirror the twisted shapes of the buildings. The town is quiet to quiet, as if holding its breath. Every sign of life has disappeared. A lone bicycle leans against a fence, spinning slightly in the wind. Its chain rattles faintly, a subtle sound that pierces the silence. The houses, once familiar, now feel alien. Doors creak under the weight of the stormy wind. Windows shimmer with distorted reflections, and faint shadows move just out of reach, hinting at something watching. The sky above Hawkins is thick with dark clouds, almost alive in their movement. A low hum vibrates through the air, barely audible at first, then slowly building. It's a sound that unsettles the bones, like the town itself is groaning in warning. The wind carries strange echoes, distant laughter, whispers that seem almost human, but distorted and broken. There is no warmth here, no comfort. Even the trees sway in jerky, unnatural motions, their branches scratching against windows like skeletal fingers. A slow pan captures the ruins of Hawkins' lab in the distance, its jagged edges barely illuminated by lightning flashes that reveal fleeting glimpses of broken machinery and shattered glass. Shadows slither along the walls, creeping and twisting unnaturally, as if the very building itself has become a gateway to another place. The camera moves closer, lingering on one window where a faint glow appears, flickering like a pulse. The glow disappears the moment you look too long, leaving behind a chilling emptiness down the street. The remnants of normal life lie scattered in overturned trash can. A tipped-over street sign, a single shoe in the puddle reflecting the stormy sky. It's a town frozen in a moment of sudden panic, as though its inhabitants vanished in an instant. The sound of footsteps echoes softly, but no one is there. The scene is heavy with tension, building unease in every frame. Each detail is subtle but deliberate: the swaying lamppost, the crackling neon sign, the broken bicycle chain, all pieces of a puzzle that hint at the horror waiting to emerge. The camera cuts briefly to the outskirts of the town, where the forest begins. Trees stretch tall and black, their tops lost in the mist. Shadows dance between the trunks, moving with a mind of their own. Occasionally, the outline of a figure appears, but the shape dissolves into the fog before you can see clearly. In the distance, a faint, unnatural howl breaks the silence, echoing through the empty streets. It's not animal. It's something else, something that belongs to a world where the rules of reality no longer apply. Inside a house, lights flicker violently, as if reacting to the presence outside. Papers flutter across the floor, chairs rock slightly, and the shadows of objects stretch and warp. A window rattles, and the camera hovers close enough to catch the subtle shimmer of another dimension pressing against the glass. For a moment, the reflection of a face appears vague, distorted, impossible to recognize, but then it vanishes, leaving only the ordinary room behind. As the section closes, the camera rises above the town, revealing Hawkins in its entirety, shrouded in mist and darkness. Lightning flashes reveal fractured streets, buildings half collapsed, and long shadows stretching across the empty town square. The low hum intensifies, now almost a roar, vibrating through the scene and through the viewer. It's a warning, a signal that something terrible is awake. The whine carries one last whisper, barely audible but chilling. It's coming, and then silence. This first sequence establishes the mood. Hawkins is no longer safe. The ordinary is gone, and the shadows are alive. The viewer is drawn in by the tension, the eerie quiet, and the subtle hints of the unseen threat looming just beyond reality. The forest at the edge of Hawkins seems alive, though no wind stirs the branches. Shadows twist unnaturally, forming shapes that stretch and curl, as if they are reaching for something. The camera glides through the trees, revealing fleeting glimpses of cracks in reality, thin, shimmering lines in the air, like glass splitting. Through these cracks, glimpses of another world appear, twisted versions of familiar streets, upside-down reflections of houses, and faint flickers of dark figures watching silently. Every movement feels wrong, as if the laws of nature had been rewritten in this place. A narrow dirt path winds deeper into the woods, the ground wet and uneven. Fallen leaves shiver as if something beneath them is moving, just out of sight. The camera pauses on a small puddle, reflecting a sky that is not quite the same as above, darker, swirling with violet clouds and streaks of shadow. Ripples spread across the water, though there is no wind, distorting the reflection of trees into grotesque shapes. Something touches the surface from below, leaving a subtle ripple that trembles unnaturally long. Suddenly, the air vibrates with a low, vibrating hum. It rises slowly, almost imperceptibly, until it becomes a tangible force pressing on the senses. Tiny sounds emerge, metal clinking, whispers, and a faint hiss that seems to crawl across the skin. The forest seems to respond to this sound, branches bending, leaves trembling, and shadows elongating. The sensation is disorienting, a feeling that the forest itself is aware, and it is watching. The camera captures a quick glimpse of a shadow in the corner of the frame, indistinct but humanoid, moving just beyond recognition before disappearing into the mist. Fallen logs and rocks shift as if something is crawling beneath them. The camera pans to a clearing where the ground seems scorched in patches, and faint trails of smoke rise, forming twisting, unnatural shapes. The scent of ozone and decay hangs in the air. A gust of wind stirs, carrying with it faint echoes of voices, children laughing, someone screaming. A single word repeated, run, but the sound is fragmented, disjointed, almost like a memory that shouldn't exist anymore. Objects begin to move on their own. A branch snaps without anyone nearby, leaves swirl in spirals, and a small wooden sign leans forward, pointing into the darkness. The camera follows the direction, revealing a wall of fog thick enough to obscure the trees beyond. Through the fog, faint lights pulse, irregular and unnatural, casting shadows that stretch in directions that defy logic. Shapes pass between the lights, quick, fleeting glimpses of distorted figures that move with impossible speed. They are neither fully human nor fully monster, existing in the space between worlds, watching, waiting, patient predators in an environment they control. The camera shifts to a nearby creek. The water is black and thick, reflecting the twisted sky. Ripples form from beneath, moving outward without any visible cause. Shadows dart across the surface, then disappear. Occasionally, the distorted reflection of a familiar object or person flashes across the water. A bike, a jacket, a hand, just for a fraction of a second. There is no sense of time here. Moments feel stretched, elongated, and threatening. The forest seems alive, a dangerous playground where reality bends and nothing is trustworthy. In the distance, a faint glow emerges between the trees. It's small at first, like a candle, but it grows, pulsing in rhythm with the low hum in the air. Shapes emerge in the light, twisted, almost skeletal forms that move jerkily, as if testing gravity itself. They hover briefly, then vanish, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. The glow flickers again, and this time the camera catches a figure reaching through the haze, hand stretched as though it could grab the viewer through the screen. But before it can, it dissipates, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the soft echo of footsteps that were never there. The final moments of this section focus on a deep, dark hollow in the forest. The camera lowers to peer inside, where the ground is covered in fog and faintly glowing cracks snake across the soil like veins. The hum grows louder, almost deafening, vibrating in the chest. From within, a shape emerges, briefly a shadow with multiple limbs, impossible angles, and glowing eyes that pierce the mist. It pauses as if acknowledging the camera, and then retreats into the depths, leaving the hollow silent, empty, and more ominous than before. The forest exhales, the fog swirls, and the sense of anticipation hangs in the air. Heavy and suffocating, this section establishes Hawkins as a town on the brink of collapse. The threshold between reality and the upside down thinning. Every sound, every shadow, every fleeting image is a warning, Something is coming, unstoppable and unseen, and the ordinary world is no longer safe. The tension is drawn from the environment itself, from the way familiar spaces twist into threats, leaving the viewer on edge and craving what comes next. The night air grows heavier, thick with mist that clings to every surface. The streets of Hawkins appear almost unrecognizable, transformed into a labyrinth of shadows and light. Silhouettes begin to emerge, moving slowly and deliberately through the fog. They are faceless, defined only by shape and posture, yet each silhouette carries a distinct energy. One pauses at a corner, shoulders tense, gripping something unseen, while another stands atop a staircase, surveying the darkness, an outline of quiet determination etched into its frame. The camera lingers on these figures without revealing detail, forcing the imagination to fill the spaces. Letting fear and curiosity intertwine, a lone streetlight flickers, casting an irregular glow that illuminates objects and fragments of the town in fleeting flashes. An abandoned bicycle leans against a lamppost, spinning slightly as if nudged by a phantom hand. A newspaper page flutters down the sidewalk, landing open to a headline too distorted to read. A small teddy bear lies half buried in a puddle, reflecting the fractured sky above. Each object tells a story, a memory of life interrupted. And the camera moves carefully from one to the next, building a narrative from absence and suggestion dot in the background. Distant flashes of lightning reveal more silhouettes. Momentary glimpses of figures carrying shapes that could be weapons, tools, or even just the outlines of their own hands reaching into the fog. One silhouette pauses, raising a hand as if to stop the unseen force pressing against the edges of reality. Shadows ripple across walls and through alleyways, sometimes synchronizing with the figure's movements, as if the town itself responds to their presence. Every frame is layered with tension, the fog, the silhouettes, and the distorted reflections in puddles, mirrors, and cracked windows work together to evoke a world teetering on the edge of collapse. The camera drifts toward a doorway where a dim, flickering light escapes through the crack beneath it. The light pulsates faintly, like a heartbeat, and in the shadows beyond, another silhouette lingers. It doesn't move forward, doesn't retreat, simply waits. Objects around it shift subtly. A chair tips slightly, a photo frame tilts. A curtain sways as if caught in an invisible breeze. The effect is hypnotic, drawing the viewer into a sense of quiet dread. Every action and pause feels deliberate, choreographed to suggest anticipation rather than chaos. A narrow alley stretches between two buildings, dark and uninviting. One silhouette moves through it with caution, hands brushing along walls slick with rain. The camera follows from above, giving glimpses of other forms in parallel alleys, each figure moving with the same careful rhythm. Occasionally, a shadow detaches from the wall itself, forming strange shapes that stretch toward the moving silhouettes, but never touching them. These shadow forms retreat when observed directly, reinforcing the eerie, predatory nature of the environment. Further down the street, a broken street sign tilts, reflecting faint light from an unseen source. A silhouette pauses beneath it, head bowed, as if listening. A soft, distorted sound emerges, footsteps echoing where no one walks, doors creaking, the faint whine of distant machinery. The figure lifts a hand, reaching toward the noise, and for a moment, the camera captures the tension in the posture, the anticipation, fear, and readiness that define those who have faced impossible odds before. The fog thickens, and within it, shapes flicker like memory fragments. A playground appears, deserted and warped by shadow. Swings move on their own, tracing slow, hypnotic arcs. A slide glimmers with condensation, reflecting shapes that resemble children, but their forms shift, elongated and alien. Silhouettes move cautiously past these symbols of innocence lost, their steps deliberate and measured, as if aware that every object in this haunted town holds a story. A thread or a warning. A street corner reveals a faint, flickering light from a boarded-up store. A figure pauses, crouching near the entrance, its shape almost melting into the darkness. The camera pans slowly around the figure, emphasizing its isolation against the expansive fog and shadow. Rain begins to fall again, droplets glistening in the muted light, each one a tiny, chaotic reflection of the distorted reality surrounding them. Behind the figure, a shadow detaches from a nearby wall, twisting and stretching toward the silhouette before receding into the mist as the section draws to a close. The camera ascends above Hawkins, revealing the town as a network of dark streets, fog-filled alleys, and flickering lights. Silhouettes move with purpose across this landscape, a small but determined presence amid overwhelming darkness. The fog swirls, the shadows pulse, and the low hum from the forest returns, vibrating through the scene. It's a world where reality bends, danger lurks in every corner, and the figures, though faceless, carry the weight of hope, courage, and the unspoken promise of resistance. The tension is palpable, leaving the audience suspended between fear and anticipation. Aware that the silhouettes are not just shadows, they are the last line standing against the encroaching darkness. The air thickens with an unnatural chill, carrying a faint metallic scent that clings to everything it touches. The streets of Hawkins seem to shift subtly under the weight of something unseen. Puddles ripple without rain, reflecting shapes that don't exist above them. The camera moves low, skimming the wet pavement, revealing cracks in the asphalt that glow faintly, veins of light pulsing rhythmically like the town itself is alive and in pain. Shadows stretch across the buildings, no longer just passive darkness, but stretching, writhing, almost sentient, as if testing the edges of reality itself from the depths of an alley. A subtle vibration grows, low and guttural, like the heartbeat of a sleeping predator. The camera pans up to a street lamp, its glow flickering violently in response. The shadows on the walls twist and elongate unnaturally, merging with the faint fog that clings to every surface. Shapes begin to appear, dark silhouettes with impossible angles, limbs bending and stretching in ways the human eye cannot fully comprehend. They dart across the periphery of the frame, vanishing before the audience can focus, leaving only the echo of movement and the sense that something monstrous is observing. A sudden gust of wind scatters debris along the streets. Leaves swirl in chaotic spirals, paper pages flip like birds in panic, and broken signs shatter on their foundations. The camera tracks one of the larger silhouettes, faceless and slow-moving, pausing as if listening to the vibrations of the town itself. In the shadows behind it, faint outlines of smaller, faster shapes slink along walls and under cars, their forms indistinct but undeniably alive. The camera cuts to a puddle, where reflections twist and fracture. For a split second, the reflection of something enormous passes beneath the surface, an undulating mass of darkness. Eyes glowing faintly before disappearing into the ripples, buildings seem to breathe in time with the low hum of the air. Cracks appear along walls, spreading like spiderwebs, and strange, dark tendrils seep from the fissures, curling across surfaces as though exploring the world beyond their origin. A door rattles violently, then bursts open, revealing a corridor filled with shifting shadows and jagged lights. Nothing steps through, but the emptiness itself feels alive, dangerous, and hungry. The camera lingers on the doorway, showing only the movement of the shadows and the faint distortion of space, hinting at the power waiting just out of sight. Above Hawkins, clouds swirl unnaturally fast, carrying flashes of lightning that illuminate grotesque forms fleetingly. In one moment, the silhouette of a monstrous figure towers over the town, barely perceptible in the storm. In the next, it vanishes, leaving only distorted shadows dancing across buildings. The wind carries distorted whispers, voices of children, adults, memories long gone layered over one another in a haunting cacophony. The sound grows louder, almost deafening, as though the town itself is crying out, warning of the danger encroaching. The camera shifts to the outskirts of town, where the forest meets the streets. Trees bend and twist with impossible angles, their branches reaching outward like grasping fingers. Dark mist coils around the trunks and drifts along the streets like liquid smoke. A small, abandoned playground appears suddenly, swings moving as though pushed by invisible hands. The slide glows faintly, reflecting shadowy figures that dart around its edges. Nothing stands still. Every object, every surface seems infused with life or some darker, more malevolent force.